going on, man? I got some lights underneath there, and oh yeah, baby. The long block is back in, guys, and we've got lots of updates to talk about today. And yeah, we're gonna be getting into all of that after the intro. What are we doing today, exactly? Well, we got quite a few things planned. We're gonna go ahead and try to do the priming on the oil system, get that knocked out. You can see that the long block's back in, but also the header system is in as well. And we ran into some issues when it came to taking a look at the PDU, or the fuse block for the Haltech Elite, and let's talk about that for 1 second, and then hit the intro and get into some of these details, guys. So we ran into a big whammo when I was looking at my PDU for the power displacement. Now, the Haltech has a built-in breaker box with the extended harness that you get, or the extended lead that you get, but I went ahead and I wanted to manage some of the power coming off the battery instead of just taking all those positives and landing them on like the positive on the battery terminal itself or at the starter. So I was gonna use one of these PDUs. Well, I did use one of these PDUs, and this one fried. So then we moved to the first upgrade. This is a 200 amp PDU, and I've already installed it, as you can see. I'll take a look at it real quick. It breaks down and splits the two PDU locations or branches off to either side, and I thought that that would be okay. And I don't know if it would be or not, but I'm not wanting to take the risk, so we're doing a totally different PDU setup for power, to power the Haltech breaker box. And what is that? Well, let me show you. So yeah, here's the burnt up little unit, and here is the Blue Sea super cool power displacement unit or power branch out type of unit. And this thing is built way better, but of course with that you get a cost. There is a cost difference, and it branches out totally different. I've got 6 separate circuits off to this side, and then 4 high voltage circuits off to the other side here. They use a different type of fuse. They use these fuses right here. Gotta order them because this Blue Sea unit comes with no fuses. But it takes the mini fuses here. We won't be using these ones because they're toasted and toast bagoats. But that's all right. I've got about 130 amp fuses, so I should be a-okay when it comes to that. All my main circuits will be running off of here, so like ignition. Like I got 4 freaking LS coils, the starting, the fuel pump, and then whatever else is going to be branched off of here. Low circuits will be on this side, so we should be good to go. It's got a whole separate ground bar on the bottom as well, but all of that good stuff, guys, right after the intro. All right, and welcome back to the video, guys, in the show, and the PDU upgrade, and then we're gonna do some oil priming today on Envy, my engine for my 1956 Owood ragtop. All right, guys, here was the OG. Here was the original one we burnt up. It is smithereens. Here was the upgrade, and you can see it's a little bit bigger, and the way it's designed that it splits. I got one line coming in here, but the powers are split down both sides here. Well, the new upgrade, this one is quite a bit larger, but it still fits inside of my little setup I've got here. It's going to be some work to get it fitted in there and then get everything landed, but that is the plan before we are able to prime the engine and get that everything ready to rock and roll. Once I get the engine primed, I can go ahead and put the spark plugs in and start reassembly on the rest of the engine. But yeah, first things first, power. So these things, I'm sure that you guys are wondering, like, this was probably about 10, 15 bucks. This one is about twice as much, about 30 bucks. And this one right here, depending on where you look at it, the Blue Sea, this is Blue Sea model, what is it, 7748. And it was about 115, 120 bucks. It can be more, just depends on where you look for it. But with the price comes the quality. And I guess I was trying to save some dough, and that was a mistake because, well, China stuff sometimes does not work out so great. So what I'm going to do is, off camera, guys, I'm going to go ahead and swap these units out, get everything set up, and take a look at what's going on. But I know that you guys are kind of curious on the Haltech PDU, so let me show you that real quick and kind of show you what my thinking is when it comes to how I'm going to break this thing out. Back in the back of goose. So here's the Haltech unit and the way that it breaks out. It's got breakers for each one of the whatever system modules you got going on there. I've got it fuel pump, ignition, injection, a couple spares. Those are for the fans for the intercooler, and then the ECU itself. The ECU is a low draw unit. The oil coolers, they pull about 15 amps each, the fans. So those are a little bit higher higher demand, I'm gonna go ahead and tone out each one of my powers here to figure out which one's which and where I need to go and hook them up on the new PDU. My original PDU, my little baby one over there that burnt up, is only 100 amps capability, and the second one I got was 200 amps, but this new one is well above that and should be able to handle any demands that I have or the engine has for the electrical system. Cool. All right, guys, before we get started with the PDU install, or what I'm going to do off camera anyway, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this content. Guys, I appreciate all my new subscribers. If you're enjoying this, share it with somebody else that you think will enjoy it too. Get this PDU installed, prime the engine, and whoa, baby, we're getting closer to firing this bad boy up. Now, back to the video. Okay, it's looking kind of busy because it is busy, but the new PDU is installed. I've got all my circuits separated the way I wanted to have them separated. Now, for your particular setup, you might have something different going on. Most likely you are. My ECU is on its own individual circuit over here, or its own individual fuse location over here. The two fans, my oil cooler fan and my intercooler fan, they're the only ones that are actually sharing. Right there, you see, they're together on a 30 amp. These are all 30 amps. You guys can't really tell that from there. Maybe they're, yeah, you can see 30 amps there. And I got these flipped over so I can see if they pop. Now, like I told you, all this is doing is helping me manage stuff, and of course, the ground area up front is helping me manage the power that's going to the main panel, the main breaker panel that's provided by Haltech. Get this all back together again, guys, and I'm going to test the power to it, but I need to go ahead and remove my fuel pump and ignition relay because I don't want anything sparking or fuel going whenever I'm testing or priming the system. So let's pull the relays, and that takes care of that problem. Now the only thing that's going to be coming on is the ECU, the injection, fuel injections. Actually, we'll pull those two. Only thing I want to have power is the ECU, and the two fans, they can have power. I don't care about that. So that way I can check all my sensors, load my map back onto my Haltech, and yeah, ready to prime the system, man. Prime the system. We are back, and it is time to prime the engine, and we got some things to talk about when it comes to how I prime Goose and Envy versus like a normal engine, because it's a full flow engine with all kinds of extra stuff going on, so you have to leave one of the lines cracked, but you want to go around first to make sure that everything's nice and tight, which I already have done, but I'll run through it with you guys real quick just to show you because I know you want to see. Yeah, let's get up underneath the car and take a look. So yeah, I know you're looking up underneath here already and you're like, what in God's name is going on? There's lots of extra fittings going on here. There's a temperature sensor right here, which also gives me the temperature back at my cluster gauge. This is the oil pressure sensor. This one's a pressure sensor and a idiot light pressure sensor. So the idiot light that you normally have at your engine case, well, this is that right here. And it's also teed off to feed oil off to the turbo. And then I have my oil filter back here, all kinds of good stuff. So yeah, this sensor right here is new, my new oil pressure sensor. And back here is the oil cooler. You guys see that? Well, those are the first lines you want to check. I already checked those nice and tight. I spent a good, geez Louise, probably a day back here fixing some stuff up. You can also see that I have fire sleeve installed on all my lines where they come near the header system. The J tubes that come back underneath here. Yeah, that's because we don't want to burn through oil lines. That would be a bad deal. Everything is routed and held in place with little clamps. And yeah, that's my LED strip, guys. Yeah. All right, let's get a little bit further underneath the engine. So right up underneath the header is the turbo outlet, which comes up underneath here and is sucked back in through the pump back over in this area. You see all these lines in my Fruit Loop fittings. I know you guys love that. Good stuff. All these have been tightened up super tight. This right here, this line is not an oil line. That's actually an air line that brings fresh air in from the filter area, so don't worry about that one. There's all fire sleeve up underneath here too. And the line that I'm gonna crack, that I'm going to loosen up a little bit, the one that I normally do, is my one that goes back into the engine case. Right there, can you guys see it? It's got a couple of 90s right there. Yeah, this is how my full flow comes back into the case. Right up here is where the pump exits. These are all real fun to get to. But all this has been tightened up, and we're gonna check and make sure that it's all been tightened up once we start cranking to get oil pressure. But this line right here, like in a system like this where air can get into it real easy once you crack the lines. Let me zoom you guys out. When you crack the lines, especially over here, because the lines go up and around down into the oil cooler, you need to leave one of the lines cracked, and that's why I cracked this line back here. This one that you guys can't see. This one right here that goes up into the case, because it allows that air to get out. And this is the last line in the system, so this becomes the obvious line to crack. So once you get oil here, you go ahead and tighten it back up, and then you keep cranking it until you get your pressure showing up both on my Haltech, and the idiot light goes off inside of Goose. Good stuff, guys. Let me go ahead and show you what kind of oil we're running with today. And this is the break-in oil for about the first 500 miles. Everything else is pretty much broken in, but we want to make sure those pistons and cylinders break in great with those new rings, those Total Seal rings. So this is what I'm going with. Royal Purple break-in oil, high in zinc fortification. All right, you guys can also see that I got my EFI turbo manifolds installed with these special top hats from Race. You guys have seen these before, but you want a closer look? You got it. I'll show it to you. And the way that these work is they integrate the fuel injectors into the manifolds, which is pretty sweet, pretty awesome. Yeah, Daryl over there does some amazing work, guys. Check out his Facebook group up over here. I'm going to link it, or down in here. Check out the description below as well if you're interested in some cool stuff like this for the turbo setup. But I put those on there because I pulled out the paper towels. I had stuff down in there to keep crap out, but now I got to pull this out, put some oil down inside, and then let's get ready to prime, baby. Royal Purple. See them dripping finally. Jeez Louise. Man, oh man, oh man. It takes some time to get the oil pressure there. Let me show you the lines I had to crack to get that oil pressure to start coming up. All right, so up underneath here, I had to crack the line at the line that comes into the oil filter. I had to crack this line right here. And then I cracked the line up here once I made it past the oil filter. And if you guys are wondering, yes, there is oil inside the oil filter, so that was not it. But yeah, let me show you. And well, then of course the line at the bottom down there that I already showed you guys. Okay, so of course you're gonna see the idiot light go out when you're building pressure. But that's your first sign of good stuff. So that goes out. But then also over at the Haltech, my new oil pressure sensor is working too, so yeehaw. So yeah, it's Mother's Day weekend, guys. I hope you guys are having a good one. Spend some time with your mom if you don't have. anyone you're spending time with, spend time with your baby, your project car. You might do that anyway, on top of spending time with your family. Well, guys, this is Jason with this is Jason with JWClassicVW, and if you guys are enjoying the show, enjoying the content, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Turbo build, we're getting there. Spark plug is in, start assembling this. I'll probably have her fired up next week, and you guys will be able to see that first start on the new pistons and rings. And yeah, a little bit of break-in driving, and then take her off to the tuner, right, guys? Yeah. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. This is Jason with JWClassicVW, and I'm out.